TIF districts with low income poverty has data that show low test scores in reading and math. Reverend T.W., single parent mom, had to move Reverend T.W. and his brother into a TIF low income poverty district when Reverend T.W. was in second grade. When Reverend T.W. mom had to get a second job, it was a house cleaning job with a suburban grade school teacher and a husband that worked in CPS school system. They used their own money for several years to conduct a tutoring, mentoring summer school from first grade to 8th grade level in a TIF low-income poverty area, which included me and my brother participation. If it was not for them using their own money to sponsor a tutor mentor summer school in a TIF low-income poverty area, where would Reverend T.W. be today? Because Reverend T.W. struggled with reading, math, and speaking during his adolescent years. Therefore, each panelist is going to do the following in 2 minutes. Inform the participants who they are. Inform the participants what does tutoring and mentoring means to them. Inform the participants what services they provide in tutoring and mentoring.
Hi, there we go. Hi, my name is, that's not working, okay. My name is Scott McFarland. I'm Deputy Director for the Serve Illinois Commission on Volunteers and Community Service. We're a statewide commission in the Governor's Office and Department of Human Services, and we collaborate and oversee volunteer programs throughout the state. A bulk of what we do is the AmeriCorps program. In the city we have Public Allies, City Year, West Suburban PADS, Alternatives, AUSL, Teach for America, the list goes on. So we have about 1,200 AmeriCorps members serving throughout the year. But then we also work to train volunteer managers, to offer volunteer support, to help to not only recruit volunteers, but also to retain those volunteers and make sure you have good volunteers working in your program. Is it working now?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's up to you.
It just isn't working. One of the ways we do that is with our website, and this is where I do my shameless plugs over and over again, serve.illinois.gov. We have about 140,000 volunteer opportunities in Illinois right now that you can search through. And we don't have 140,000 people looking at those, so we need more folks looking at those volunteer opportunities. And if you want to get your opportunities on there, we can work with you as well too. Just on a personal note, my night job, actually I'm a school board member for Springfield District 186, so obviously tutor mentoring is important to me for my work, but also for my, my work with the school district as well, which is why I have to apologize. I have an executive session at 5:30 in Springfield, so I'm going to have to sneak out of here at 1:30, so I do apologize for sneaking out early.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Officer Rafael Yanez. I work for the Chicago Police Department in the Special Activities Section. And this Special Activities Section oversees all the preventive programs for the Chicago Police Department. Previous to this unit, I was involved in grassroots organizing through the police department, an anti-violence project that started in the 7th district in the Inglewood community, which then expanded to 5 districts in the city of Chicago. I just finished my doctor's program, and my dissertation was mentoring in high crime areas. And one of the things that I found was that, which obviously you're all the experts here, one of the things that I found is that as police agencies do anti-violence projects, if we look back in the history of projects or anti-violence initiatives, we tend to see that when there's an increase of unemployment, we tend to see the departments use a lot of anti-violence initiatives, and we see the incarceration going up and up. As opposed to saying, let's look at the evaluation of mentoring programs, for example, and see if we could create policies to say law enforcement use different projects, for example, an anti-violence project using a mentoring program. So one of the things that I did when I was in the Inglewood community in the 7th district we started a mentoring program in Harper High School. So what we did is we approached the principal, the administration, to give us 20 of the students that had the most challenged problems. So for example, a student that had a background, had history, had felonies. So we started meeting with them, and the commander at that time, Keith Calloway, sat down in that mentoring project. And so obviously we see that there's a gap in the police department between relationships of youth and police officers. So our goal was to fill in that gap and build relationships and build trust. One of the successful results in that project is that we started seeing the students coming to school, obviously improving their academics. The only 3 seniors that we had, I'm sorry, one? Okay. All right, very good. So that's where we at.
Don't have quite that much to say. Good afternoon, Reverend Quentin Mumphrey. I am currently Director of Community Action Councils for the Chicago Public Schools.
Can y'all hear back here? Can y'all speak up?
Okay. Again, Reverend Quentin Mumphrey. I'm currently the Director of Community Action Councils for the Chicago Public Schools. We have 8 community action councils around the city, and also I'm an associate pastor at New Life Covenant Church. And I also chair an anti-poverty commission that's comprised of Illinois Student Assistance Commission, Rainbow Push, Woodstock Institute, and a few other organizations. And one of the areas of focus for this anti-poverty commission is education. One of my strengths is that of kind of what I call connecting the dots, is putting people who have the resources and the skill set, the programming, in contact with the folks who need to access that. A lot of times, particularly when you're dealing with bureaucracies like the Chicago Public Schools, I've heard people say, well, you know, I've got this program, I've got this organization, we're trying to do work with the school, but I never get a call back from the principal, or can't get in touch with this person. And so myself and my staff, that's one of the areas where we come in, is trying to clear those roadblocks out of the way.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lee Rowe. I'm the co-director of Counseling and Youth Development Services at UCAN. And what we do is we go around the city of Chicago and provide violence prevention workshops, youth development workshops, a variety of trainings. And we've created a model called the 360 model, where we combine youth development services with counseling and clinical services. So what we do is we try to get into a school and provide mentoring workshops, Hands Without Guns, which is our violence prevention workshops, a variety of different things in order to change the culture of the school instead of just working with one group of youth on one particular day. So we try to combine all those services together to be in the school and provide a quick snapshot of what it could be like for kids not to worry about or to be able to express themselves about the violence that's going on. Because when we were growing up, the worst thing that we had to worry about was getting beat up. But from the time a student makes their way out of the door to get to school, they're confronted by a variety of things in the neighborhood just trying to get to school, and sometimes the teachers don't understand what the behaviors are that they are exhibiting in school. Then they have to go home from school, and it's more stuff that they have to deal with just in the community, maybe at home as well. So we try to provide training to teachers and staff at the schools as well, so that they understand it's not just the behavior, it's a lot of things that went into why they're acting the way they're acting. So that's just one of the approaches that we take. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Yolanda Harris Robinson, and I'm the Youth Development Manager at UCAN, so the program services are the same. But I just wanted to take the approach of why mentoring is important for me. As I watched the video, one of the elements that came out, they talked about how young people today, they're just looking for a place to relax, to play, and there are not a lot of resources in our communities for kids. I remember growing up on the west side of Chicago, and there were not a lot of places for us to go. There were not a lot of community centers. And so our churches became our safe haven. And if it were not for the mentors at my church, the people that I looked up to, my family members saying, go ahead, you can make it, you can do it, you're a smart kid. I was told that I was the smart kid, so that gave me the motivation to go on. But I also, in retrospect, heard other members in my family be referred to as the not so smart kid, or you know, she's dumb as a rock. And then when you look at the differences of how we came out, the messages that we give our kids are very important. So mentoring to me is, what messages are we sending our kids? How are we showing up? And do we continue to if we pour into them the positive messages, you'll get the positive results. If you pour in negative messages, negatives will come out. So that's why this is important to me. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm part of the UCAN youth leadership team.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're on applause, everybody. Now, the U.S. Department of Education rep, Shirley Jones, wanted to sit in the back and observe. She represents Region 5, which is the state of Illinois, the state of Michigan. What's the other ones? Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. But when you have time, make sure you go to the back to meet Shirley Jones, who represents the U.S. Department of Education. The U.S. Department of Education has some great initiatives, fatherhood engagement, and some other ones. So tutoring and mentoring slides under the U.S. Department of Education. All right, I'm going to share some quick data from the Brain Trust organization that points out why tutor and mentoring programs are needed. Many minority students are living in poverty. We consistently give students who have the least out of school less in school to do, less money, fewer qualified teachers, and less access to high-level courses. By 2018, the U.S. economy will be short 3 million college-educated workers. We cannot satisfy these workforce demands. Minority students are 3.5 times more likely to be suspended or expelled than other students in their school building. Despite the civil rights gains for the last 4 decades, we have seen a widening gap in degree attainment between minority students and other students. Now we will take 4 questions from the audience. Each panelist have 2 minutes to respond. Any questions? Yes, please, Dan.
Because we talked about mentoring.
Can you state your name and where you're from?
I'm sorry, my name is Mitchell Scholler. I'm out of the Lawndale community, part of the City Harvest project. Tutoring and mentor is why we're here. And I'd just like to hear from the panel, how do you manage the problems with the youth as far as violence? What have you set in place for handling the violence that they are part of in their community? What are the challenges? How do you handle the violence part of the teens? For me in Lawndale, it's from 8 years old to 15 is where we see a lot of violence in the schools. Children are proud of their fathers in prison or their mothers on drugs, but they're homeless or they're running from home to home, and violence seems to be a common factor. I just think, as a tutoring, from a tutoring standpoint, how do you manage that, the violence part of it, if I'm making sense?
Well, I'll start. Very good. So I have been giving the green light to start mentoring programs in high schools in the city of Chicago. We're going to start in Hyde Park High School, and we're going to use the model that we use in Harper High
You have to
School.
hold the mic to you.
Very good. So I'm going to take it close first. So we're going to start in Hyde Park High School as a pilot program. So the way the police department works, I mean, we obviously see a lot of projects in place. We have anti-violence projects. We have, so for example, suppression projects where we go and respond to a shooting. We have community policing approaches. We have mentoring program approaches, which is something that I'm going to start working on. My goal right now is going to be to recruit mentors. So there was a study back in the 80s, in the late 80s in Texas, and they found that almost more than 85% of the young people that were incarcerated were fatherless. And if we do that study today, we're going to see obviously an increase in that percentage. This is a fatherless generation. So our goal is be able to recognize that and bring mentors that are going to help our young people. And we're going to do it through the police department's perspective as well. So that's the approach we're taking right now. It's an innovative approach, something that we see a lot of mentoring programs. We see the GREAT program, the DARE program, but this is more going to be working with that population.
Thank you.
So at UCAN, that's one of the primary things that we focus on is violence prevention. So we have to have passionate staff, number one. Passionate staff to go into the schools and build relationships. If you're not building a relationship with the youth, nothing that you will do will be successful. So finding out about them, about what their education is like, what their home life is like, and just building that relationship with them. And then you go into, what types of choices they make, and what those choices have resulted in, and provide better options. Well, now that you've experienced this, what types of ways do you think you could have rectified that situation better? What types of approaches can you take now? What's your frame of mind? Now that you know what the consequences were, we have one youth that we've been working with, and he made a bad choice. He was on the L, and a young lady was asleep on the train, and he decided to take her iPhone. And now he's doing time over stealing an iPhone. And he writes letters saying, I remember everything that you all said. I just made a dumb choice. When I get back, I'm going to be right. I'm going to do everything that you said. And at least you know that the words were there, even though they didn't act on them. It's going to take a while for them to, put it into practice. But really being there and being that role model, being that mentor, spending time and providing those types of workshops and services to create that environment where they can be honest with themselves and honest with you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You mentioned the lack of male role models. I just wanted to give you an example of one program that we have in our school district. That's a Real Men Read program. We partnered with Scholastic, and what happens is we get business leaders and faith leaders and what have you from the community, and then Scholastic gives us a book, one for each student to have in that classroom, and then obviously the mentors come in once a month and work with that classroom, so they're getting male mentors that they may not have had before. And the nice little side to that is these are business leaders and folks who are better off than most, and so when they come in, they also write us checks too, which is also positive.
Yes.
Bishop Steve Braxton. I'm doing some work now with the Lawndale Christian Legal Center. We're working very closely with Cook County, and we do mentoring programs with young kids between 13 and 24. But we just recently involved ourselves in a program with Cook County where kids who violate their parole, they send them to us, and we spend time with them, building self-worth and teaching them how to be committed and determined and dedicated to change their lives. We work very closely with the 10th Commander in Lawndale, but the challenge we have is the way the police treat the young people. We're trying to figure out how do we bridge that gap, because they're treated as just a number. They don't get any respect, automatically assume that they are no good, that they aren't worth anything, that ever amount to nothing. Well, we teach the opposite from the legal center and the parole pieces, but they constantly encounter negative attitudes, particularly from the police department. So what can we do to improve that? We are working with the 10th Commander, who has come up with some good ideas, and we have an evolving partnership to try to change that perception. But since I see policemen on the panel, I'd like to ask you guys, because you're in the trenches. So what can we do with you and the youth to change that perception?
That's very good questions, and hope they don't quote me in the newspaper somewhere.
You're off the record.
Off the record. So the point, I think, as I mentioned earlier, the approach we're taking as far as recognizing that mentoring program is important, I think that's definitely a start to a new beginning. So one of the things that we have to understand that the police department works in a semi-military organization. So in order to be effective, in order to embrace new policy and new procedures, we have to understand that we have to start as a, for example, as a pilot program, which we're going to start in Hyde Park High School. So we're building that foundation, we're building the curriculum, and hopefully as we envision this program, that hopefully one day it becomes policy, it becomes procedure, and it becomes to the point where each commander in each district will have a mentoring program. That's the goal. That's the goal. Why? Because as you mentioned, for many reasons, maybe sometimes the approach is not the best approach. We understand the psyche of the young people. If I look back, I mean, I wanted to be independent, I wanted my freedom. You're not going to tell me what to do. But the point is that we have to, we're bringing workshops that are helping our officers to understand the different factors, the different reasons why we have a certain behavior. A good example is crisis intervention training. Crisis intervention training is a 40-hour block where we teach our officers mental health. And we do scenarios with consumers where they come in and they have bipolar, they have schizophrenia. When we come in the academy, they teach us to take control of the situation. Crisis intervention training, they teach you to slow down, go down. I mean, analyze the approach. Don't speak up, don't scare him because he might be in medication, it might be something happened. So I think that's what's happening now. I think as we move forward, we're gonna get to see more innovative approaches, and hopefully, I think a lot has to do with rolling up our sleeves and going to that individual that makes that decision and saying, this is important. We have to do this.
Before she comes, what you gonna answer, sir?